Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Captain America: Civil War from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is a big deal kind of movie. By the way, it's from 2016. It's 2.5 hours long, and it's now provided to you on Disney Plus in the IMAX experience, IMAX enhanced version. So you don't have a this term IMAX has kind of lost its meaning to those of us who've experienced IMAX back in the day when the theaters that had IMAX were 6 stories tall at least. I can't remember. I mean, AMC and other theater chains have created screens that are expanded in size, and they're huge, and they have better sound, and it's a beautiful setting. I love watching the films in IMAX, but now we have it in at home. So unless your TV is just configured in a certain way, I don't know if it's really that much different. I mean, yes, maybe it's a slightly different aspect ratio, but eh, it's just not as impressive when you're just watching it on a computer screen or a tablet, or even if you have a 4K television sitting in your living room. It's just, you know, I don't know. It doesn't mean anything anymore. But hey, it's nice. Thank you, Disney Plus, for making sure we get as much pictures as possible when it comes to the films we love that are full of action and visual effects and everything else, so we can see everything. But this movie is not so much about all the effects and about the big fights. Yes, it's Civil War. It pretty much gives you two opposing sides of Avengers. It's the classic comic book trope where the good guys end up fighting the good guys, and they both think they're right, or they meet for the first time and they fight thinking that the other is the bad guy, and then they resolve their differences and fight the actual bad guy. Well, that does eventually happen, but in this case, we know that these are all the good guys, and they end up fighting anyway. They know they're all the good guys, but this is a humongous turning point film in the MCU. I mean, yeah, everything sort of everything is connected. Everything bounces off each other pretty well. But beyond Age of Ultron, which a lot of people kind of poo-poo, is not their favorite Avengers film, or not even their favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe film. It's not considered great by any means. It is the launching point for so many storylines and characters and everything else. In this situation, this is more about the launching of so many characters. For the first time ever, we get to see not only the Black Panther and Wakanda for a little bit in the mid-credit sequence, but we also get to see Spider-Man for the very first time, a character we never thought we would see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They brought in the fresh-faced, brand-new kid, Tom Holland, as Spider-Man. He's now had three of his own movies. So for me, this is really timely to be able to watch this after seeing Spider-Man No Way Home 4 times in the theaters. Yeah, 4 times. A different group of people each time. Well, one time I saw it by myself, but still. 4 times, both coasts. Yeah, I really love the movie. So, but that's not on Disney Plus anytime soon, if ever. I think there's talk that it would come eventually, but we don't know. Either way, until then, we get to see a fresh-faced Tom Holland, Peter Parker, and his sexy aunt, played by Marissa Tomei, Aunt May, as Tomei as Aunt May. Yeah, we get to see them make their first appearance, and of course, like I said, Black Panther and Wakanda. We see T'Challa and his father T'Chaka, and we're just only scratching the surface when it comes to these characters and how important they'll be to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And of course, it's also the first appearance, not of course as Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, the late, unfortunately, Chadwick Boseman, who is sorely missed. But it is great to see his performance first time, and it's a big deal movie. This is almost not even a Captain America movie, because there are long stretches of time honestly, when you have a movie about a specific character, they tend to be in almost every scene, a majority of the scenes. But there are so many sequences in this that have no Captain America in them at all. Just the scene of Tony going to recruit Peter is Captain America-less from end to end. You'd think this was just an Iron Man movie. You'd think, I mean, this is from the Russo brothers, who did Winter Soldier, Captain America: Winter Soldier, and then the following two Avengers films, and Infinity War and Endgame. So this is very much their through line of stories and characters and everything else. Yeah, sure, Feige and everybody else have their say and their influence, but it's the Russo brothers that brought this along, kept the consistency of style and character and action and everything else, and directing everything, and writing very much as part of their oeuvre at Marvel. So this is just, to me, one of the best Marvel films out there, because there's so much to chew on. It's not just, yes, like I said, we obviously are hoping to see this big battle, and it takes an hour and a half until, literally exactly an hour and a half, until these two guys face off with their respective groups of Avengers, and they battle it out in Germany, in Leipzig, I think, Leipzig, Germany. So yeah, I looked at the clock. It was on the little counter on this thing. It's an hour and a half. So if you are just like, oh, you know what, I don't feel like watching the entire movie, which is, to your detriment, you could just jump right to the hour and a half mark, and that's when everything comes together. And it's a pretty big, long fight, and it's not. I don't think anybody has. Normally, you have to. Not normally. I mean, unfortunately, if there's bad writing involved, you have to sort of push characters in a certain direction to make you believe that they would choose one side or the other, and that side has to do with the Registration Act, the Sokovia Accords. This is very similar to how things went in the comic books, called Civil War comic books for Marvel, where some heroes did something and it got a lot of people killed. They were the new Warriors, which don't exist yet in the Marvel universe yet. Something went wrong. A bunch of people got killed, and they realized these kids need to be regulated. And Tony took one side, Steve took the other, and superheroes on both sides, or superheroes everywhere, just took two sides, and they battled it out for dominance, and ending Captain America's death, by the way, as the kind of epilogue to that whole thing. And that's the comic story, which of course he came back to life. That's how it works. But if you get a chance to read the comic, it's very different from the movie here, but it kind of gives you an idea of just what it would be like if we had a full access to all the characters at this point, and just see how huge conflict that would be on every angle. And also, by the way, the Civil War story in the comics led to the unmasking of Spider-Man, but voluntarily, not by accident, by Mysterio. So that led to a lot of stuff, which also then led to a thing where they try to make everybody forget that he was Spider-Man, which seems, if you've seen No Way Home, you know that's a somewhat similar deal with the devil was made, let's just say. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot that blew out of Civil War, which is why they adapted it within the MCU. Understandably, it's rich with drama and action and everything else, and logically, everybody makes a decent case for one side or the other. Tony has good reasons. Steve has good reasons for the choices, the sides they take. Whether it comes to Hawkeye or Vision or Ant-Man or Scarlet Witch or Black Panther, everybody has a stake and everybody has a good reason. Rhodey makes a lot of good arguments for signing the Accords, and and so much of this series, by the way, is the launching point for so many Disney Plus original series, and not just WandaVision, but obviously the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and everything that's come after it. This leads. You can watch Black Widow almost immediately after watching this, and because it takes place logically right after this. Black Widow has to go on the run at the end of this film. I realize I'm spoiling this, but the movie's been out for a while, so yeah, but she has to go on the run, and you see her at the beginning of Black Widow on the run, so it's kind of it's a connecting tissue for so much Marvel, and honestly, if you haven't seen this movie yet, I'm sorry that I've spoiled some things for you, but you still can get a humongous amount of entertainment value out of this, even knowing these things and just pretending you never heard them. So, obviously, like I said, Robert Downey Jr. spends a whole lot of time in this film. He should almost be Captain America and Iron Man. But Civil War is the big selling point. This actually, when they announced all these new films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe way back when, the whole list of Phase 3 films, originally this was called Serpent Society. That was the decoy, and then they were like, oh wait, no, we got that name wrong. It's actually Captain America Civil War, and that's when everybody lost their minds. It was just because it's a beloved storyline, and you know that when you're not trying to push everybody up against a specific bad guy, it's one thing. You're like, somebody's bad, we're going to fight the bad guy. But when the good guys are fighting the good guys are fighting the good guys, you know something is wrong. Something is just truly wrong, and you want to try to understand why, and you kind of think, I mean, are you Team Cap? Are you Team Iron Man? Which one? So, I mean, there's lots of humor in this. There's lots of action, but the big parts of this are the small moments, the emotional moments, the personal things. When it deals with Steve dealing with Peggy's death, a story that is obviously not done, even though she dies in this film. You know that it goes all the way through Endgame. It's a small background, B-level story, C-level story even, but it's integral to the Captain America story. It's a Steve Rogers story. Little moments with, like, Wanda dealing with her power, and her dealing with her relationship with Vision, which is all then explored even further in WandaVision, and it rolls out of the just the craziness that happened in this film. And then of course, everything that happened in Infinity War and Endgame, of course, also that was that took it to the next level. But still, the idea is, everything that Wanda went through, it started pretty much here. Well, unless you count Age of Ultron, but still, this could have been an Avengers film, because almost everybody's in it. Not Thor, not Hulk, but we wouldn't find out where they were until Thor Ragnarok. So, and well, we enjoyed the fact that they were there. So that was fine that they weren't here, because honestly, if you had those two big powerhouses in this fight, if they were on the same side, or that would make it very unbalanced fight. They'd have to be on separate sides, and that would have. I have a feeling both of them would have sided with Cap, and even though Bruce and Tony are science bros, I think they would have both sided with Cap, and it would have made it really unbalanced. You couldn't have had a fair fight. They would have just wiped the floor with Tony's team, I think. And with the surprises of Spider-Man and Black Panther on one side, and then the unknown quantity of Ant-Man, who doesn't stay just Ant-Man in this, and has a nice little other surprise in this film. There's a lot. There's so much to chew on. This is so much to enjoy. So many little things throughout this. Like I said, it's a foundation for the Spider-Man trilogy that was to come and just wrapped up a month and a half ago. A little more than a month ago. And this is just so freaking important. If somehow you're like, I don't like the Captain America movies, first of all, I don't know what's wrong with you. It's just there's something seriously wrong with you, because they're some of the best ones. Even the Joe Johnston original First Avenger one, which is very different than the Winter Soldier and Civil War, style-wise, still works. He knows how to do a World War II film. As a guy who did Rocketeer and other things that are just amazing. But these Russo films take the action, especially the physical fighting and everything else, to a new level. It's so beautifully done. So I can ramble on and on about this for all time, but I'm going to give you a little bit of trivia here. There's a scene toward the very beginning when they're in Nigeria and they're hunting down Crossbones. Why can't I say his name? Frank. They're trying to chase down Crossbones before he does something terroristic. He is a henchman who they're trying to steal a bioweapon, a little flask and a bioweapon. The guy who he gives the bioweapon to, big guy. He's been in Marvel films before, but as a completely different character. And he fights. You'll see Black Widow take him down. She like spins all around his head and takes him down. And he was Thanos at the very end of Avengers, the first Avengers film, and he turns to the camera and smiles, doesn't say a thing. That motion capture for that face was actually that guy. It wasn't Josh Brolin or anybody else. He was the one who did the motion capture for the face for the big smile on Thanos' face. So technically, Black Widow took down Thanos. Technically. Not really. But yeah, that's a neat little piece of trivia that I don't think anybody else talks about. I mean, I met the guy. He's come to my comic shop not too long ago. Not mine. I don't own it. But I mean, the one I go to. We were in a web series together. I was an extra. That's it. I'm in the background. So I'm not a star or an actor, as you could probably tell. But yeah, he appeared as a security guard in the web series, which I can't remember the name of, but it took place in a comic shop. Either way, so I've been in the thing with Thanos and one of Crossbones' henchmen, and he's probably been in a bunch of other stuff as well. He's pretty prolific as either not as an extra, but he's does a lot of work in this area of films, those types of films. So genre films. And I wish I could tell you what his name is, but I don't know. So, anyway, I've wasted enough of your time. Let's pick tomorrow's episode.
90.
A little slow there on the talking. Okay. I think I know what this is. It's a movie. It's drama. I think there's like specials and documentaries also on Disney Plus about this, which I think I had on here for a while, but then I took them off because like I don't list the documentaries for everything else. I mean, there are documentaries for a lot of the programming on here, but we don't need to put the behind the scenes stuff for everything. Anyway, we're gonna be watching Clouds. Clouds is what's next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. Clouds. See you tomorrow.